Okay, I'm going to go through section 2.5 today. I'm just going to go over one example rather than do the whole note packet on this one. So basically you can see what we're going to be testing on and get an idea how to plug in numbers in your calculator that represent a couple of different lists, and then get a line of best fit. Which, when it says line of best fit, that's you're just coming up with an equation, a linear equation, y equals mx plus b. And then we're going to use that equation to come up with some predictions. In this case, we're going to come up with predictions for the number of something that was sold in 2015. First off, let's take a look at our calculator here. We want to get them all ready to roll here. I would have you go to y equals and clear anything that is in the y equals. And then also something that causes a problem on our calculator is if you've got this plot on up top, so I just arrow it up. You can see it's blinking. I'm going to press enter, arrow back down, and now that's turned off. We want those plots on if we're going to do a scatter plot on our calculator or a box and whisker. If we're going to do something, have our calculator actually graph a set of data, we want it on. But sometimes it causes an issue if we're trying to graph other things with that turned on. So let's just clear all that out. Now we're going to look at our problem here. We're going to use the graphing calculator to find a line of best fit for the following data. X equals the years since 2006. Also, I've got some years over on the left, and it's told you I've got some product where there's so many of them sold on the right. We're going to plug in numbers that represent year and then number sold. Now, year, if I was going to graph this, year would go down here on my x-axis, and then the number sold would go on the y, because the number sold is based on the year. You know, you wouldn't say, hey, I sold 4,000 of these, and you're going, oh, it must have been, that meant that it was 2015 or whatever. No, the number you sold doesn't tell you the year, but the year is going to tell you the number you sold based on the fact that it's a linear increase. So now in this case, it says the years, X is a year since 2006. So when we plug them in, we want to plug in, we'll start at 0 because 2006 is 0 years from 2006. And then 2007 is 1 year, and 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are going to be our X's, 0 through 5. If you plug in 2006 through 2011, you will get a working equation. But you're going to get a y-intercept that's goofy because your y-intercept will stand for a number that means basically 2006 years ago, back at 0 AD. So that we usually don't think about functions going that far back. So we want our y-intercept to stand for year 2006. All right, so how do we plug them in? Back to the calculator. Over enough so I can see what numbers I'm plugging in at the same time. All right, so in our calculator, you're going to hit Stat, press Enter on Edit, and then I want to go into List 1 and List 2. Now I've got some numbers in List 1 and List 2 already. You can use any of the lists, but I'll show you how you can use a list that already has numbers in it. You're going to arrow up, hit Clear, don't hit Delete, delete's bad, hit Clear, and then arrow down. Over to the right, I'm going to lose the same thing. Arrow up, hit clear, arrow down. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my lists in. I got to go 0 through 5, so 0, arrow down, 1, arrow down, 2 through 5. Over list 2, put those numbers in. We have 3,115. On down. After I get done with this, what I should have done to begin with was get you guys set up so that you're going to get an R value. So I'll show you how to make sure your calculator gets an R value. As soon as I type in this last number. Okay, so those lists are in there. They're going to be in there until I decide to delete them or clear them later. If you happen to accidentally hit delete, like let's say I'm over on L3 and I hit delete, and I'm like, oh no, my L3 disappeared. This is how you get it back. So if you delete a list by accident, hit stat. Number 5, you can either arrow down to number 5 or you can just hit the number 5 and it'll bring up setup editor. But then you have to press enter and it'll say done. Now if you go back to stat, edit, L3's back. So if you accidentally delete it, don't fret, you can get it back. Now again, I was talking about an R value. To get an R value, your diagnostic needs to be on. To put the diagnostic on, you need to go to catalog, which you'll see is in blue above the number 0. To get there, hit second, 0, brings you to your catalog. Then you need to arrow down to diagnostic on. Or, well, that's going pretty fast there, so I'm good. Oops, I passed it. If you hit alpha D twice, it'll bring you back down to the D's. This calculator's got a mind of its own, so if I go too fast, it'll go right past it. There we go. Diagnostic on, press enter. You got to press enter again to get that done word, and you know you've done something. So that'll give us our R value. What is R value? When we're going to find an equation, R value tells you how strongly the things are correlated. In this case, how strongly are years and numbers so correlated. If you get an R value of 1, that tells you that it's perfect correlation in a positive fashion. They're in it, all points are on a line. So the closer you are to 1, the stronger the correlation. R value of 0, no correlation whatsoever. You can get a negative. Negative 1 also is as strong a correlation as you can get, it's just negative. If you have an R value of negative 1, you have negative correlation, means that as you go to the right, the points go down. So something that would be negatively correlated in your notes was, as a car gets older, as you go to the right, its value generally goes down. So that would have a negative correlation. So negative 1, 1, very strong R values tell you the correlation is as strong as it can be. They're in a line. As you close those two numbers, you have strong correlation. As you move towards 0, the correlation is weaker and weaker. Okay, so I've got numbers in a list. Now I want to come up with an equation. So I'd stat, arrow to calc, and then number 4. Now, you got it. I can just hit enter right now and I'd get an answer. My answer would stand for whatever was in L1 and L2, which would be good in this situation. You can see that I've got y equals ax plus b instead of mx plus b. So a is my slope. My slope's 71 approximately, and b is my y-intercept, which is 3,110.5 approximately. If you use a different list, which you could do, you have to type in those lists, and I'll show you how to do that. So let's say that I want to type in a list. Stat, calc, number 4, and then I'm going to tell it to use L1 and L2. So I'll go second, 1, there's L1, comma, second, 2, there's L2. Now I'll press enter, and you see I get those same numbers because that was the default. I didn't need to enter for L1. I didn't need to enter the L1, L2 for those because that is the default. But again, if I wanted to do the reverse, if I wanted to compare years to numbers sold, I'd have to put L2, comma, L1. All right, so there's my equation. You can see I have an R value of 0.9. I mean, that's really close to 1. So this is a real strong correlation. The line of best fit that I have here is a really good indicator of amount sold given a year. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. I'm going to round to the hundredths here. Just so everybody gets the same answer on the test, let's try to round to the hundredths on the test. So my line of best fit is y equals 71.06 x plus 3,110.52. So that's my slope at 71.06, means that every year I should expect to sell about 71 more. My y-intercept is 3,110. That's about how many I sold in year 0, which in this case was 2006. And you can see that's really close to the 3,115 that actually happened. My equation came up with it should have been 3,110 because the dots didn't perfectly line up where this 3,115 was the y-intercept. Want to figure the number sold 2015? 2015 would be 9 years later. Subtract, and you end up plugging in a 9 for x, because x stands for years since 2006. So just plug a 9 in there. I guess I'll type it in right over here. In second mode, that quits and clears my screen. We got 71.06 times 9 plus 3110.52. Enter. And you can see that looks like I sold about, they'd sell about 3,750 whatever in that year. It's 0.06, so I'm just going to round. 3,750 is your answer. What if I wanted to ask a question that went backwards? What if I wanted to say, when would you sell 5,000 based on this linear correlation, this line of best fit? When would I sell 5,000? Well, now I put 5,000 in for y, because that's the number sold, and I work backwards, so I'm going to have to subtract the 3,110 over, and then divide by 71.06. So this is something that could happen on your test where you have to be able to work backwards. So again, I'll take 5,000, then I'm going to subtract 3,110.52. See what that is? That would equal 71.06 times x. So then divide 71.06. I'm just solving a two-step equation, and I get 26.59. What does that mean? That means I will have sold 5,000 units 26.59 years later than 2006. So I got to add that to 2006 to get my answer. And see, it's 2032, or I could take the answer 2033 because you got that extra almost 0.6. So it's somewhere in there, 2032, 2033. It would happen, some months in. So that's what you expect to do on the test, be able to plug in an L1, L2, or whatever list to use, find a line of best fit, and then use that line of best fit to answer questions, either going by knowing the input, in this case, which was 9 for the number sold, that was knowing the input, or knowing an output, which I just made up, was 5,000, and working backwards. So plugging in 9 to find a number, let's see, going back, let me reiterate that. So here I want to find a number sold, I plug in 9s, because that was the years that told me the number sold, and then my next one I gave you the number sold, I want to find the end of the year. Something else you can do, this is extra, this is not on the test, but maybe it'll come into play later, is you could have your calculator dump the exact equation into y equals. Like I went to y equals, I have nothing there. Now watch, let's say I go to stat, calc, number 4, and I'm going to hit second 1, comma, second 2. I'm going to hit comma, I'm going to tell it to put, I'm going to tell my calculator to put this into y1. Here's how you tell it to put it into y1. Let me clear this over here. You hit vars, arrow over to y bars, hit enter on function, and then you can see there's a y1, so I'm going to press enter there. Now if I press enter, I get the same equation, but if I go to y equals, you'll see the equation got put into y1 for me. And you see it, they didn't round to the hundredths, so this is a little bit more precise. We round to the hundredths, ours isn't as precise as this one. This one, they're using the exact line of best fit that it came up with. Once you have that, you can use your table, which is second graph, to figure out how much there would be at any given time. So here in year 0, you got your 3110. At 1 year from 2006, you got 3181. If you want to go down and get the 15th year, or the 9 year for 2015, excuse me, here you can see there it is, 3750. That matches what we came up with. Let's say you want to find 30 years from now. Rather than arrow down a bunch of times, if you hit second window, and then you can just tell your table to start at 30. Now if I hit second graph, I'm at 30, I can see, well, I'll be 5,242. So that's another function that your calculator does. We could also graph our plot. Let's take a look at graphing our plot. If you want your calculator to graph it, you're going to hit second. Let me clear this first and start over. So let's clear I want it to graph now. So let's go second, y equals. Press enter on plot. Get the plot turned on. I want a scatter plot, which is already highlighted right here. So that's good. I want to use L1, L2, and that's already on there. My X list is L1, my Y list is L2. Now all I need to do is get it to plot my points. Well, the most efficient way to do that is to hit zoom, and then the number 9. It plots all the points, and because I put that Y1 in there, it plotted the line of best fit. It will only plot that line of best fit if you get that Y equals in there. So if I cleared this out and then hit graph, I'll just have the dots. Okay? So that's a little bit about how you deal with linear regression is what it's called, finding a line of best fit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.